Okay, awesome. So, by way of introduction, let me first welcome every one of you to Ask Me Anything session today. Uh, the goal is to support your learning as participants of the Digital Women Bootcamp Cohort 6, because we know that in as much as you have gained technical skills, it's also very important for you to be guided on how to navigate your path, even as you graduate from the tech bootcamp. So, by way of introduction, Moms Who Code, we are committed to bridging the gender gap in the tech industry by providing women with the skills and support that they need to succeed in digital careers. Our flagship program, which is the Digital Women Bootcamp, is a comprehensive training program that equips women, especially mothers, with in-demand technical skills and digital skills that are needed for them to get into the world of tech and also to thrive in their different professions. Because these days we understand that almost every career these days is tech driven, right? There's a component of it which really uses tech to kind of amplify the work that businesses do, that organizations do, and helps them achieve their bottom line even faster and more efficiently. So it is important for every woman who is working and those who run businesses to have certain skills that are core to the delivery of their work. And so that's why Digital Bootcamp was set up. And then we are very pleased to be doing this with all of you in this cohort. Now, through our bootcamps, uh, we have concluded 5 cohorts, and this is the 6th cohort we are about to complete. Over 2,000 women have enrolled, and we have over 300 women who have actually completed the 8 weeks program, right? 6 weeks of training, and then the 7th week and 8th week where you have the opportunity to deliver a capstone project. And we just decided that it would enrich the program more if we bring in workshops or sessions like this, because the world out there demands from you as a woman not just the technical skills but also soft skills, and of course other knowledge and what's needed, right, for you to actually thrive and actually get opportunities. Now, even when you get these opportunities or when these opportunities come your way, we need to be sure that you will be able to use them. You will be able to utilize them effectively. Now, what we do is provide you with hands-on practical training. We also give you opportunities for mentorship like what we have now, and also opportunities for you to network within your tracks, within your groups, and even across the track where you are learning. And so essentially, that's what Digital Women Bootcamp is about. And that's it's in line with what we want for you, that we are here today. And I'm so glad that a number of you are actually in at this time. It's quite early. Some of you came before 3, and that's very commendable. And next, I'll move on to a brief introduction of our panelists. We have 2 panelists here today. We have Oredola Smith and we have Chioma Muanya, and I'm going to quickly read out the bio of Chioma Muanya, and then I'll read that of Oredola Smith, and that's in no particular order. It's not in any particular order, so please bear with me. And if I can't find Choma's Choma's bio, Choma, you may have to quickly send that to me on WhatsApp. I changed my phone, and a couple of things have vanished this morning. So if you don't mind, please resend it to me because I can't see it here right now.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so while I wait for Choma to send hers, I'll quickly go to our other panelist bio. right? Okay. Okay, so Chioma Muanya is a Microsoft certified data analyst, and she has over 4 years of experience in diverse sectors, including oil and gas, education, healthcare, and humanitarian work. She's proficient in using industry standard tools such as Excel, SQL, Power BI, Tableau, and Python to conduct data analysis. Those of you in the in the Excel track or the data analysis track, I'm very sure that you know Choba pretty well. She's one of our faculties for that track. Choma has strong communication skills and administrative competence, consistently optimizing resource allocation for goal achievement. Currently, Choma works for Infinium Consulting as a freelance analytics consultant, working for top tier US healthcare companies. She volunteers with Moms Who Code as a data analytics facilitator with a specialty in Microsoft Excel and Power BI. She holds a Bachelor of Arts in Business Administration, a diploma in Advanced Topics in Management, and a Bachelor of Science in Accountancy. So that's Chama's bio. I'd like to, um, okay. I'd like to have you give Choma a round of applause. Put your emojis, your favorite emojis in the chat. Yeah, thank you very much. So the next person I have here is Oredola Smith, who is an experienced HR professional leading the way in talent development. Oredola Smith is an experienced human resource professional. Okay. Oredola Smith is an experienced human resource professional with over 7 years of experience. She currently leads the people and admin team at Remedial Health. It's a Y Combinator backed startup transforming pharmaceutical procurement in Africa. And in this role, she oversees all aspects of HR, including talent acquisition, employee relations, performance management, and building an inclusive and positive work culture. Beyond her professional responsibilities, Oredola is also the host of the podcast HR Take Two. That's a very interesting name. It sounds really good. A valuable resource for both HR professionals and candidates with expertise in a comprehensive range of HR competencies, including policy framing and implementation, compensation and benefits. I could go on and on. Now, whether you're navigating complexities of HR policy implementation or sharing insights through her podcast, Oredola is driven by passion for empowering both HR professionals and candidates to achieve their full potential and contribute to the success of their organizations. Now, this is a very interesting profile, and I'm very pleased to have Oredola Smith here today because this is the first time we'll be hearing from someone who is in the HR profession, right? Come share with us. Now, when you're getting insights from someone in tech, someone who works in the tech field, either as a designer or as a developer or as a cloud engineer, um, it's always kind of tilted towards the technical aspect of it, like learn this, develop these skills, work on capstone project. This is the kind of project you should work on, things like that. But hearing from someone who is experienced in HR, that's giving you a whole different perspective on how you can possibly navigate your career. And I'm very pleased to have you here today, especially with the fact that today is such an important day for your family. As she has said, it's her dad's birthday, and she has taken time off a very busy day to be here with us today. I'd like us to give her a round of applause for doing this for us. Thank you so much, Oredola Smith, for doing this with us today, despite your schedule. And so, not to take more time on the introduction, I'd like to quickly explain how this will go. Now, I have a set of questions that I've prepared for our panelists here today. And like I've encouraged you all through the week to come with your questions. So what's going to happen is I would ask my question, And I would ask alternatively. So I would probably go with Oredola Smith first, and then I would go to Chioma. And so I'll just have it that way. And in between these questions, I'll pause for you to ask any other questions that you have, which I have not asked, or any unique questions that you have. It's very important that we have a balanced view and that we give everyone an opportunity to seek clarification, to get advice on any of the areas. So I'd like to start by saying that a lot of people have this belief that once you conclude a boot camp, you are not eligible, right? Like a boot camp doesn't make you eligible for an internship or for a job, right? And so I'm talking to Oredola Smith now. Like, once you complete a boot camp, like, what actually gives you the nerve to say you want to go apply for a job? Like, it's just a boot camp, right? It's not like you went to school for 4 years or 5 years, or even you went for a diploma program. You just completed a boot camp, probably 6 months boot camp, or a 1 year fellowship, or even a shorter boot camp, right? And you come out and want to seek for job opportunities or internship placement. Like, how? Now I want to hear from you. What are your
Okay.
thoughts regarding this?
Okay. So, first of all, thank you for having me. Good afternoon, everyone. Sincere apologies. I sound very nasal. I have a cold, so bear with me. But I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yeah.
So first off, right, when anyone completes a boot camp is as good as a training or a certification. There are people that do certifications that last for a period of 3 weeks to 6 weeks. And the general idea is when you get something like that, it's important to put it to work because your knowledge only becomes a skill as at when it becomes reality. So you actually use it. What you've gained is knowledge. What you now need to do is turn it into a skill before it then becomes an ability. So when you turn it into a skill is when you practicalize it. If you're not already in a job that probably requires the kind of skill that the kind of knowledge you just acquired, that is when you would need to get something of the sort. Now, my advice on this front is don't always be so focused on looking out for just paid employment in that particular area. Consider internships, volunteer jobs, because the idea is to build your CV to the point where you would now be attractive and you can say, I've worked on this, I've worked on that. I'll give you a perfect example project management. That's like the trending course or certification now, at least within the last year and a half. A lot of people are pursuing PMP certifications, but a lot of people don't have project management experience. They might have managed teams or led teams or done a few projects, maybe in consulting, doesn't mean you have project management experience. Now, the best thing to do is to actually look for an internship. It can be unpaid, it can be for a period, 3 months, 6 months, but build your CV. Build your CV at that point because you might not get paid employment because what most people are looking for, again, because there are skill shortages these days, most employers of labor or most recruiters are more concerned or more focused on people that are going to come in and get the job done because there might have been a gap in their system for a while and they're not looking to train anybody or wait for anybody to catch on. So they might not necessarily be as gracious to give you the opportunity to grow and make your mistakes. But where you can make those kind of mistakes is in an internship where your input is not a huge determinant of the success of that project, and then you work with others who've been doing it for a while, so you get an understanding of how to do it. Another perspective is the fact that, or is the idea that when you learn something, um I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. This pop-up of people waiting to enter is distracting me. I've lost my train of thought. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that one, be open to volunteer internship opportunities so you can learn from other people who have been doing this for a while, make those mistakes, and then build yourself up to the point of one where you're confident enough to even lead some kind of project or lead a team and be held responsible for the errors that would occur on a job like that. And then you don't go into a company where you start the job ASAP, you claim you have the experience, and then you start the job and then you end up losing the job because you couldn't hack it. So having the nerve, I would say, back to the way you phrased your question, what gives people the nerve? That's the only way that you can actually make it an ability, and it becomes second nature to you to be able to do something like that and progress in that career field, especially if it's something that is new to you. You don't have any other option. I would advise, no knowledge is lost until you don't turn it into a skill. It becomes lost when you don't use it. So the only way to use it is to pursue a job. So, I mean, I guess that answers your question directly, but I just wanted to add in those few things for people to understand when they're looking out for these kind of opportunities. So I hope I answered your question. You're still on mute in case you don't know.
Thank you so much. That
Okay,
actually answers the question, because
awesome.
we've had cases where women do not have the confidence to actually pursue an internship after the boot
Yeah,
camp, and I
yeah,
always tell them that you have actually gained not a lot of knowledge, right? Aside the fact that in boot camps the curriculum is usually like pulled together and taught to you over a shorter period of
yeah.
time,
Mm-hmm.
unlike what's obtainable when you go to a school. But that's not to say that you cannot pursue an internship after a boot camp. So
Oh,
thank you
yeah.
so much for answering that question.
You're
And
welcome.
the next question will go to our second panelist, Chioma. Chioma, I want you to also share a few notes on what on the question I just asked Oredola Smith.
Okay. Very quickly, please, could you kindly recap the question so I could put
Okay,
myself?
so what are your thoughts on pursuing internship opportunities right after a boot camp?
Okay. I always say internships are like when we. Okay, I'll share my experience. Like when I finished, wow. Okay, a brief intro. I joined Moms Who Code Bootcamp the first, I think 2022, last year, January or December, something like that. And where I joined them briefly and I went on to other things and so many other things. And so after the boot camp and many other boot camps, you find out like when you don't apply the skills you've learned, or when you don't take it seriously, because I also understand or I feel when people do boot camps, which because it's free, they don't take it that seriously. So yeah, then you don't apply your skills, you tend to lose it. And you find out you keep joining several boot camps, and it's kind of a repetition. You're not moving forward. So, and just like Miss Oredola said, it's quite sometimes you don't have these positions are not available for you to get in. Getting internships are the best thing to do. And you might think, oh, I'm not getting paid, or they're asking me to work for free. But come on, you're developing yourself. You're building the confidence. You need to, go back. And most people when you do boot camp, most people joining boot camps, you're, transitioning or coming back into the workforce or trying to improve or change jobs. So why don't you do this? And like she said, internships, how do I put that? You're playing with someone's business, not necessarily play, but yes, you're experimenting with someone's business. So why don't you do that and make all the mistakes and go forward? So I always advise you do that if the opportunity comes up. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chama. I think that's really insightful. Now, my next question will be, now that we have told these women, or we have advised them on the benefits of progressing from the boot camp to actually finding internship opportunities, we also know that employers or potential employers, right, have expectations, will have expectations of these women who are looking for opportunities. Now, as an HR specialist, which you are, I would want you to speak regarding that on what are some of the expectations that a typical HR professional or a typical HR for an organization would have of an intern.
Hmm. Of an intern. So
Yeah.
the fact is, at that level, the expectations are very minimal because an intern is more of like a trainee. So you're here to learn. So the only major expectation, which I would still say is minimal, is that you learn. And then from there, a decision or a conversation would now be held as to, okay, is there a spot and is there an opportunity for this person to join the bigger team where they can probably grow into, work with, become a full-time staff, and then we look at them in a more serious manner, and then we assign KPIs to them and all of that. At an internship level, you rarely find, I mean, except it's a very super intense organization. I have not, I'm yet to see a case where an intern has KPIs. So it's when you have KPIs that you can now start speaking of expectations. But the idea is just for you to learn. And it's almost like a, regardless of age, is almost like a should I say mother child relationship or father child relationship, where it's like touching base with you every day. So what did you learn today? How did you find this project? How did you find the team? And it's less about the work and more, well, it's not just about the work, would I say. There's also other elements of it. Will this person also fit into our organization? Does this person have an understanding of our culture? How do they work well with others and things like that? And they would be looking out for possibilities in you. So does this person showcase leadership abilities, especially if you're experienced, but maybe not experienced in that field? So you're a trainee in that field, but you're an experienced worker. So it's not your first time in the workspace. So they'll be looking at you for possible leadership potentials and all of that. And then they would consider, okay, is this the kind of person that's, yeah, they could start off, we could train this person in this manner. So they don't really look out for, they're not expecting much for you from you in terms of performance. I would say it's more of how much are you able to learn, especially within the time frame of whatever the internship is for, maybe 3 months, 6 months, a year,
Okay.
and how quickly you're able to adapt as well. So those, I would say, if I was to pick two things, it would be how much you're able to learn and how quickly you're able to adapt to a new setting, because that would say a lot about your skills just as a person, less about the job. So
Awesome.
yeah, expectations are minimal. So I don't think pressure should be off on that front. If you're applying for an internship, take the pressure off in terms of expectations. Nobody's expecting you to come in and be fantastic. No, you're learning.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And so what I picked from that is the person has to be teachable, right?
Yes.
And the person has to uh, be quick to adapt to the environment. Now, you did touch on culture fit, right? I'd like you to please throw more light into that in a few words.
So, in these days, first of all, I mean, for both candidates and for employers of labor, culture fit is important. When people come into interviews these days, one of the major questions that majority of people ask is, "What's your culture like?" Even though whenever I get asked that question, my response is always, "I can tell you what it is, but it's better lived and it's better seen." And because I would tell you, nobody's going to tell you their culture sucks. They're going to tell you their culture is fantastic and it's all sorts of great things. Um, but culture is one of the most important things these days. If you don't necessarily pay people well, when I say well, I mean if you're not necessarily leading in your industry versus your competitors, if you have a good culture that is attractive, that has other kind of benefits, the people are happy to come to work, people are comfortable with their co-workers, there's flexibility. Um, the world is hard enough. If I don't want to wake up in the morning 5 days a week and then go to a place where I'm miserable,
Mm,
if I connect with my coworkers, if there's allowance for a certain type of autonomy, things like that. Those are the kind of things that build a culture. How respectful are people? Is there open communication? What kind of policies do we have in terms of open door policy? Do I have access to the topmost person in the organization if I'm at the bottom? And is it the kind of thing where my manager will be upset about it, or my manager encourages those kind of things? Just tiny things like that build a culture. Culture is so important. And in an interview, what they tend to test out for, look out for, is how do your mindset, they would ask you questions. I mean, I can't really the questions are, so I'm sure people know this by now. Questions you're asking in an interview, sometimes what the interviewer is looking for is not your direct answer. They are looking for, to read between the lines. So they ask you questions that are not necessarily saying, what kind of core values do you have in life? No, they will probably ask you questions, scenario based, behavioral interview questions, to see how you behave in certain situations. That would determine, will this person be able to fit in with the team they are coming into, and then the broader culture in the organization as a whole. So I don't think there is much anybody can do to prepare for a culture fit interview, because all they're looking out for is to show yourself. And it's a case of do you or do you not. It's like going into any kind of relationship. You either match with someone or you don't. That you can't like make yourself into what you're not, and you can't really prepare for it. Otherwise, it wouldn't last. But it goes both ways. So you as a candidate should also look for a place that aligns with the kind of value system you have, or a place that would make you grow. I mean, it depends on what it is you're looking out for. I can't tell anybody
All
what should be
right.
important to them, but if you're the kind of person that is concerned about growth in an organization, you should look out for things like that. How do they encourage it? Do they give things like leave allowance? Do they have opportunities for exam leave? No, not leave allowance, personal development allowance. So you have things for examination leave. Do they pay for certifications for people? It would give you an idea that this is an organization that encourages learning, encourages continuous learning. So you yourself should ask questions tailored to that, as much as they are asking you questions to see if you fit into their culture, because it goes both ways. So yeah, but culture is major, super super important.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. And my next question is for Choma. Choma, what do you have to say about landing a gig um, after time off work? Let's say we have women who actually wanted to raise children, and let's say within the first 5 to 10 years after their marriage, or who just happen to want to raise children first, right? And then go back to work life. Now, what would you say to such women regarding completing a boot camp and then looking for opportunities post training?
Okay, thank you for that. First, I'll say, well, I'm talking from experience because after I had my kids, like 3 kids in 2 years, it's always it's a lot. It's a lot. And then at a point I had to just, step back and take care of the kids. But while I was that, I was developing myself. I knew the kind of people I surrounded myself with. Let me say, I was very particular about my circle. And while at it, I was working from home. And so basically what I was working from home. After a point, let me say my business grew. Let me say my business grew bigger than working from home, and I had to go to schools and work with schools. So I was a reading consultant. I was meeting with people, and that was quite let me use the word of kind of elitist business, because yeah, nobody was going. Regular people, from what I experienced, regular people weren't coming to meet you to teach their children to read. So I was working with elitists, and at a point it grew into schools, and I had to start teaching elocution. So obviously I was developing myself, being an entrepreneur and working with people, communicating and training. So this was something I wanted, this was something I enjoy doing. And so now when I'm applying, or when I'm talking to you about what I've done, I need to say, oh, I have great entrepreneurial skills. Oh, I'm a trainer. I teach, I teach really well. And because I've taught children, I know how to make it really simple for everybody to, understand. And so, yeah, so I wasn't just sitting. So you need to read. And now there are lots of courses, lots of resources online. So even if you're at home, we know that you're not with the children 24 hours. And yeah, you might have little children, but I know that sometimes they sleep and then sometimes they go to school or maybe they are at their grandma's or, somewhere. So just every little time you get, even when you're on your phone, you're not spending all your time endlessly scrolling on Facebook or Instagram. There are so many things to read. Even just one article you pick up gives you, you come across, gives you a lot of knowledge and it makes you research more. I remember when I was trying to transition into tech, I just, after a while, I had to go to Instagram and Facebook and started unfollowing all the, I wouldn't use the word unnecessary because at the point it was important to me. So all the reading groups, all the teaching groups, all the mom groups, all the extra groups, I just had to unfollow everyone and my timeline became very clean. Sorry, lovers of Instablog. I know a few months back I unfollowed Instablog, and what? My Instagram timeline became so clean. All the techie people I was following, I'm like, come on, this is good. So, so so yeah. So I think it's important to know what you want, have a goal for yourself. It's just temporal because the children are going to grow. And when I decided to switch, go back into work because the kids were growing and outgrowing what I was doing. And I was thinking, okay, in a couple of years, they're going to boarding school. What was I going to do? So I had to change my career, all thanks to COVID. So please, when you're at home and then by the time you're coming back, people say, well, when you have the skill gap, I always tell people you were obviously developing a lot of managerial skills. I wouldn't tell you to lie on your CV, but you could obviously make your work gap period very interesting. When, oh, we have this gap, what happened? You talk about it in a very interesting and creative way. And before you decided to be a stay-at-home mom, I also understand you had other qualifications and skills and experience. So you bring that all into play, make it a story, make it an interesting story, know how to, present it that, oh, it looks interesting. Yes, you took a break. And I think um, every recruiter or HR person has seen lots of women coming back into the workspace. And the truth is, from experience, the ladies that I've seen coming back into the workspace, they're not just coming like every regular person. They're coming back, they're coming back with, I can do this. I'm not staying in the house again. I want to work and I'm going to work. Just give me the time, just give me the opportunity. And
Yeah.
so I think when you're coming back, yes, go all out and come in with something new, something fresh, more energy. And yeah.
Thank you so much, Chioma. That was packed. Thank you a lot for that. Thank you for that. So my next question, and before I ask my next question, I'd like to know if you have any question, if any of our participants or audience have any question, feel free to raise your hand if you want to unmute and ask. Otherwise, you can put your question in the chat and I'll take it just right after the next question. So my next question goes to Oredola Smith, and that is, how can women create a strong personal brand and showcase their skills to potential employers?
So that's a tricky one because I think creating a personal brand, first of all, that's a personal brand, is for you.
Yeah.
Showcasing that to employers, unfortunately, for some people, it wouldn't matter except it fits into what it is that is required for the gap that they have. Are you coming to solve the problem that they have? That is more of what they would be looking to than what your personal brand is. Now, so I would speak about it in two different, one side and another side. Creating a personal brand, as a woman, as a person, is so important, and it's something that I think for me personally, and I'll speak from my own experience, I started doing just maybe 2 years ago, and you have to be very intentional about it. First of all, you ask yourself the question, what is your career plan, your own? What's your own career plan? And when I say personal brand, yes, your career is part of it, but it's not the entire thing. Your personal brand is built off of what your core values are as a person, what makes you stand out, but it's also tied to where it is you want to go, which is what your career plan is. Where do you want to end up? Um, so you work towards it. So when you take certifications, when you take courses, when you change jobs, where you work, all those things are tied into where it is you want to end up. Now, these ultimately feed into your personal brand. Where you want to end up, where you want to work, when you enter into interviews, because you kind of already know where you're going and why you're sitting in front of the person you're sitting in front of. This is if you're not doing it mindlessly and you're not just going based off of what is available, which, again, let me just state this. I do not shade anybody who does that because I understand that times are really tough and difficult. And it's just a case of whatever is going to be able to foot the bill that I would go and pay attention to. But I always give this piece of advice: just make sure that somehow you find a way to tie it into what it is you're trying to achieve at your end goal, because you don't want to go off track for too long, because then you get stuck and then it's difficult for you to find your way back. Take, for example, you're an HR person and then you end up in line of a healthcare worker and you're there for years and it's just difficult for you to come back without going through the route of starting from the bottom, even though you probably gained 10 years experience and you were away for like 6, 7 years. It becomes difficult for you to find your way back. So I advise, don't stay away for too long. Okay, that's my own advice. But in the event that that is not necessarily the case, when you're sitting in front of an employer, you know why you're there. You know that this is, I I picked your company to work here for a reason. So when they ask you questions like, why do you want to work here, or why do you think you're the best candidate, or whatnot, who you are as a person, your personal brand, what it is you stand for, you already, all those questions would not be seen to be things that you need to go and prepare for, because you know, I've always wanted to work in this kind of sector because it personally, the experience I have, or this and that, and you just, as Chioma said, crafts it out in a very creative way that it would be difficult for yourself not to shine through. I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense, and I hope I'm not speaking in several pieces, but basically, your personal brand would show itself through when you are intentional about your career to any employer of labor that you're sitting in front of. It will show itself through. Also, I know they give advice on things like your social media, your um so okay, let me
Bring
give
this.
this example. I'm trying to be mindful of how I put it. So, for example, if you're applying to be an accountant, I'm trying to give perspective here. If you're applying to be an accountant or someone in finance, if they did a background check on you and they found things like you were indebted to a few financial institutions, that is not the kind of person that they would want to bring on board. That unfortunately speaks to the kind of person that you are. And maybe not kind of person that you are, but your situation in this very moment is not suited to this kind of job, right? So they may not trust you. So that speaks to them what they see. That's whether or not is your intention, is the personal brand that they've received from you because of what they've seen on the internet. If they Google your name simply, what comes up? If they checked your Instagram page, if you're, public, what comes up? If they checked your Facebook page, the kind of people you follow, just like Chioma also mentioned, on following Insta blog. For someone who is an entrepreneur who has a specific kind of clientele base, they might, be a bit judgmental of how following pages like that, and they might, just put that to one side and say this one is clearly not serious. I mean, some people are like that, some people don't care, but to an employer of labor, things like that are the kind of things that interprets to them as who you are as a person. Your personal brand is what you stand for. Your personal brand is showcasing your core values. Your personal brand is at the core, I would just say your belief system, your core values, all of that is tied into who forms who you are as a person. I wouldn't say you should go out of your way to showcase it to an employer of labor, because then it looks like you're forcing something. But by the time it is something that is you, like, I know the best way to put it, but it's your core. When something is your core, you don't need to preach it. It will come
So,
out.
okay, so what you're inadvertently saying is beyond content creation, because right now there's a lot of focus on content creation on the internet. Like, you are building your personal brand, you have to be pushing out content. So from what you have said so far, it's like a shift from that mindset to who are you really, right? What are the things you hold dear? What are the values? Who are the people that you follow? I bet to to say that a few people here did not even think that um, employers or potential employers could go as far as checking who they follow, right, on social media, right? And
Yeah.
so, thank you for sharing that.
And I mean, like the example I gave, they do also do background checks with financial institutions. So if they see that you're somebody that has debts in several places, it can shine a bit of a red flag depending on the sensitivity of your position and
Wow.
depending on the level in which you're applying to. It's just an example. I don't think there's any finance person here, but it's just to show you whether or not you choose to show it in an interview or not, they would get that information. So it's what is out there and who you are at the core. It will come out. It's not something you have to preach or show. It will show itself. Yeah, I don't. I hope that answers your question, because it was a bit
Thank
too
you. I like the fact that you brought something else into perspective. Like I said, there's a lot of focus on, oh, you have to be writing about your area of
Mhm.
interest. You have,
Yeah.
but beyond that, there's still a lot that people should know in kind of designing or putting out or building a personal brand for themselves.
Again, sorry, can I just add this thing you mentioned is something that I would also like to point out, that maybe to take the pressure off of people. Not everyone is a writer, not everyone has the skill for content creating, not everyone has to be a content creator. I'm very big on delegation. And when I say delegation, I mean, if you can afford it, or if you know somebody who's good at it, somebody else can do it for you. So, take for example, in the place I used to work, my last organization is a consulting firm. I do not have strong marketing skills, marketing in terms of intentional marketing. I would rather outsource that to somebody to go out there and create that buzz. And then I can come in and have a discussion with you and tell you the practicalities of the job, because that's what I'm great at, and implementation and follow through. But so it's a case of, if you know you're not great at crafting out articles or content creating or whatnot, it's not everybody. Don't feel the pressure because that's what is sort of required or what is necessary, what is trending. If it's not your strong suit, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. If you choose to want to go and build the skill, fine, but do not feel the pressure to build that skill. You can pour your energy into other places and just simply outsource that one aspect to somebody to sort out while you do the rest. It takes the pressure off. That's my own view.
Okay, thank you very much. And that also kind of brings to perspective those of us in the digital marketing area who want to major in content creation, right? This is an opportunity for you to actually look for professionals who are not
Yeah,
big in that area of their careers and then help them sort this out. Um,
exactly.
okay,
It's
so
a gap in the market. I have to be honest. It's not everybody that I see some content out there, and I'm like, it's better if you just paid someone to do this for you, because what exactly is this? It doesn't it doesn't help you. It's actually a gap. So if there are people here that are looking out to have careers in content creating, trust me, there's a huge market for you. Trust me.
thank you. And so we are 12 minutes before 1 hour, right? And I'll quickly would like to hear from Choma. Choma, what do you have to say about building a personal brand? And after you're done, oh, I think I said I was going to take a question from the chat. Okay, let me do that. I just remembered. So there's a question from Joy, and Joy says, "Please, can you talk about networking as a wife and mom, especially as the tech space is full of Gen Zs?" Who wants to
Is
take
that
that
for me
question?
or for Chioma?
Well, any of you.
Okay, Chioma, do you want to take it, or should I go ahead?
Okay, let me just say very few
Okay.
very few things. Yeah, like I'm not, the truth is, I'm not a social media kind of person, but I value friendship, and I think I always tell people the greatest asset I have are the people in my life and my friends. And truly, my friends are people I met in university and the high school, and it's really difficult for me to make friends. But when people see me, they think, oh, this lady, she's so friendly, she's so nice. I can easily flash the smile, I can, make a conversation go on, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're friends. When you're saying, oh, let's see, oh, let's go out, oh, let's visit, I'm like saying, oh my God, please don't. I don't want this. So I think by the time you're growing up, you already know what you want. You already know people you want to associate with. And there's something I want to tell you. I mentioned I joined Moms Who Code bootcamp 20, I don't know, sometime, let me say 2 years ago, thereabouts. And I met a lady there. And to be honest, she's one of my best friends to date. She's one of my best friends. We've done the whole tech journey together. We have children, we have similar stories. She's so, we're pushing and encouraging. And to be honest, I never knew we could go this far. So sometimes when you look at, because it's difficult, like you said, now they're Gen Zs, but they're people, we're all moms from your group, from your track, from your capstone project group. You can see, oh, this person, there's nothing stopping you from, hey, how are you doing this? What's this? Oh, please carry me along. Oh, please, let's work together on this. What are you doing? What are the next steps? That's how it is. And you never know. You really never know how it can go. Be friendly, be friendly, show yourself friendly, show yourself. And the truth is, nobody wants to be friends with anybody that is like, oh, I did not attend class. Oh, I don't even know what is happening. Oh, it's so overwhelming. Oh, because come on, I'm trying to struggle too. Don't pull me back. So if you want to network, also come strong. Like, come on, show up and show up well, please. Yeah.
Can I also chip in on that?
Yeah, sure.
So I mean, Choma is totally right in terms of one, show up friendly, right? And also be open. I would say be open minded. Be open minded, I think, would answer your question in terms of, especially with Gen Zs. There is a thing of, so Gen Zs are different. Yes, I get that. They're different, and whoever comes after them is going to be even more different, right? But and they too would have the struggles we are having with who comes after them. The cycle goes on like that forever and ever.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, once you are open-minded, once you do not have an attitude of I'm older than you, once you do not have an attitude of I'm superior to you, they would warm to you and they will be more than open to connect with you. The only way to network with any generation, even from them trying to network with you, because they have these same struggles that we also have, connecting with them, is connection. And connection is built on middle ground, is built on just a commonality or two, which I mean, we have several commonalities regardless of whatever generations that we belong to. But if you are open-minded, if you don't go into it with a I know more than you, how dare you, who are you small girl or you small boy, you'll be fine. It's a case of having open conversations with them, with people, and also even just, as much as I said who you follow and whatnot, but keeping up to date on my mom, for example. She is what generation is before millennials? I don't even remember, but she is way more knowledgeable about relating with Gen Zs than I am, and that's because she does a lot of research in terms of what's going on Instagram, on TV shows. So she kind of knows, oh, so this is how they think now, this is what they do now. I mean, it's a bit alien at first, but then she learned to accept and understand that they're never going to think like me, but the basis of it is there a connect. That's what I think. Going there with an open mind, going there being friendly, also don't totally, also you have a whole network of moms that would also you could connect with. But when you're trying to build a connection with somebody who is a Gen Z, don't start thinking well, I know more than you. You're a small girl, you're a small boy. What do you know? What can you possibly teach me? There's such a thing called reverse mentoring. And that's literally when it comes to someone like me teaching my grandmother, for example, how to use a tablet or an iPad. It wasn't something they used in their time. But she's open to it. She's the one that will call on me and say, come and teach me how to use this thing. I don't understand it. So it has to be the same attitude that you have when approaching people like that. It's not a thing of pride, or it's not a thing of superiority. It's just what it is. They are more current in terms of some things. You also know some things, but it goes both ways. They will learn from you, learn from them as well, but it only works with an open mind.
Thank you so much. Thank you for
Someone's
that.
hand is raised.
Yes,
Elizabeth.
I can see Elizabeth. Please unmute yourself, Elizabeth.
Okay, good afternoon. Thank you so much for this session. Talking about Gen Z, I just wanted to add a question to what has been asked. I had an opportunity to ask somebody that was an HR professional if I can work with their company, probably in the area of content creation and content marketing, because she was complaining about um, the person there, even though the person is a Gen Z, but is nonchalant about about the job. And she specifically mentioned that our boss requested for Gen Z. So how do one approach such situation? Even though you know what you're supposed to do, you know your onion, but in a place where they are specifically asking for Gen Z, how do you navigate such?
What I would say concerning that is, unfortunately, when it comes to something like that, whereby the boss, who I'm guessing is probably the MD or CEO, has said he wants a Gen Z person, it's not on you. It's actually on the HR person to convince their boss. Otherwise, in terms of the fact that, one, we have a Gen Z in-house and this person is nonchalant towards the job. You, Elizabeth, now come with some kind of expertise, evidence-based expertise, something she has seen, work you've done, and then she puts that forward to her boss and says, or he puts it forward to his boss and says, this is something that somebody who is not a Gen Z person has created for me. I can vouch for this person, they're hardworking. I think we should give this person a try. It's up to the HR person to convince their manager otherwise. There's nothing you can do, because that's a not a bias, but that's a preference that he has. The preference isn't based on expertise. It's based off of what he assumes in terms of Gen Z people are more current, and he needs somebody to come and up the game of the company. He would see you more as a dragon, as they call it in this field. Somebody who is old and outdated might not be able to understand what is current or what is trendy. So it's on you to give that person something, that's the HR person, to show their boss. And then they possibly consider bringing you on board on a trial basis. And if you prove yourself, it will keep him quiet and he would, forget about that kind of preference. So there's nothing you can do in that kind of setting, if I'm being honest. And it's not something I would say you should put your mind to try to change. You can't change somebody's preference. You, as a candidate, can't. The people in-house, the people closer to him, are the ones that have the work to do, not you. I hope that
Amazing.
answers.
Thank you,
Okay.
Elizabeth. I think that answered your question.
Yes, it
Chioma
does. But
wants to
can I
speak, I
ask a
think.
question?
Okay. Okay. We have 3 minutes, right? And so
Wow.
I'll say, let's quickly take Choma, and then we can come back to
Okay,
you if
yeah,
you still have
very
to.
quickly, I wanted to add to that. I think you could also, tell your friend or they should propose. You're going to work for free. You do this 2 weeks. 1 month might be a stretch, but yeah, if you can, and say, oh, let me do this for free. And if it's good, then you can pay me for that.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Choma.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah,
okay,
that's okay.
so yeah, I would want to be very respectful of the time of our panelists, and so I'm so sorry, Elizabeth. We won't be
Sorry,
able
I
to
don't
take a
actually
second question,
mind.
but
If
I
she
do.
has a question, I don't mind answering the question or staying.
Okay,
I don't have an
thank
issue.
you, thank you so much. So Elizabeth, you can go ahead.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. My question is
Yeah,
based
exactly for
on
that.
an building your CV or portfolio, especially if you have been able to harness skills from several places? How do you merge it to become something that become worthwhile or relevant, especially when you find yourself in front of an interview panel? When you have several skill sets from several places, how do you merge it to make your maybe portfolio or your CV, or maybe when they're asking you a question, you'll be able to answer? How do you go about such?
So what I would say is for every job, there's skill sets required for the job. And in majority of job ads is written out there. It's something you can also do research on, maybe by finding out anyone who knows someone that works in the organization and getting that information. That's what you should speak to. There is no point in highlighting any skill that is not necessary for the job or useful on the job. It could also be a skill that might be futuristic in terms of it could be like, when I say futuristic, it might not be necessary now, but it's something that could be tied into some future need of theirs, which could come from a question you ask in terms of what's the future plans of the organization or whatever. But I would advise you stick to what it is that they are offering, that they are requiring, that they're looking out for. They would always highlight these skills. Then you speak to those. You can have several. People's CVs have a ton of skill sets on them. But what is it that would that is required for the job, and what is it that you have that could also make you stand out on the job? So maybe one or two extra add-ons that you can speak to, but there's no need to speak on all of your skills. Those are things that they can find out while you're on the job if they become necessary to them. But the idea is, what are they looking for? Do you have that? So that's what you should focus on.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. So there's a question in the chat. Can we take that question?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I just ask, like, how many more minutes can
It's
you
okay.
take?
You can go on.
All right, thank you so much. And so Moyalo is asking, she says, I saw on the internet someone said that certifications are not IT certificates, and that to even enter the tech space, we need to show tech skills. That being said, do you know any skill labs that we can do online to ensure that we keep the skills we receive? I think this has to be like industry specific. And Moya, if you don't mind, can you just unmute and maybe clarify this question? When you say certifications are not IT certificates.
Okay, so I was on Instagram and I saw this lady and she was talking specifically about like cybersecurity. So she was saying courses like Coursera or like IBM, things like that. When you get certifications about them, it's basically them saying, well done, you finished the course, but it's not like an IT certificate that says now you can do the job. So she was saying that we need to instead get skills and prove those skills. So that's why I was asking if there's like maybe a platform for like a skills lab that we can like work on the skills we've gained from the bootcamp. Yes.
You're on mute.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to take that question?
So what I would say is that is correct. When you do it, I think I mentioned this in the beginning, when you do a certification or you do a boot camp, it's knowledge, it's not a skill, and it doesn't qualify you for the job. It just says you have the technical understanding of what the job is, but every job in terms of practicality has its differences. So that's why we advise that you can look to internship opportunities or volunteer experiences. Even if you did a skill lab, you need to actually do the work for it to become a skill, and then it becomes an ability. It's a 1 + 1 = 2, and then +1 = 3. It adds up, but it would not. What you need to showcase an employer is that you've done it even though on a small scale, even though it was a 3-week project, a 2-week project, a contract of 2 months, one job here or there, but be open to unpaid opportunities. That is what you would need to build, because it is rare that you find an employer of labor willing to give you money who doesn't have the skill or technical know-how to do a job. So if you're not able to find it, don't dilly-dally and waste the knowledge. Look for unpaid opportunities and build that CV and your portfolio to then being attractive to an employer of labor to say, okay, come on board, I'll pay you to do this.
Okay. So my question next will be, what's the place of projects, right? I do know that there are trainings or there are boot camps where participants have to deliver projects like capstones over the course of their training. How does that fit into this that you have said?
So, I mean, there are two things, right? That project that they do, it depends on the weight of it. Weight being, was it real or was it just like a simulation? Was it just a test to see their ability? If it's a test to see your ability, it doesn't make it real. Making it real is, take for example, you did it for a company where things are actually on the line. There is money on the line. There is a reputation on the line. There is a risk involved. That is when it now seems it carries more weight. It's not to negate it, because it's as good as saying in university you do a dissertation of sorts, or you do an exam that is practical. Say you're a doctor, you do a bit of work on a, should I say, plastic body, or it's not a real human being, in comparison to somebody who goes and does an internship on real human life. There is risk involved. I would look more to the person who has done on actual human life. Did you save a life or not? What was the procedure you used, to somebody who did it on a toy or on a something that didn't have a heart that could die or could not die. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it
Yeah.
depends on the amount of risk involved to say, okay, what kind of, it's like doing a dissertation in class. I can go and write something based off of field study, but it wasn't real. Real is not the word, because that almost negates the quality of it. But if there was a risk involved, if there were other factors involved, then it would be regarded as experience. But a project on a course is just part of passing the course. But there is, except in some places where whether they go ahead and say, oh, it has to be something, so then maybe if you like in an exam you don't pass until you've done a real life operation, maybe if it's that one, fair enough, nobody can take that away from you. So yeah, that's what I think about that.
All right, thank you for sharing. Do we have any other questions? Esther says, well understood. Chioma, do you have anything to add to this? Elizabeth, you just raised your hand. Please go ahead.
Okay, please, can you help us, guide us on the out on pricing? Especially sometimes some people might take it like probably because you are new in the market or something, or probably like those of us that just want to come back into the labor market. How do we price that's the salary range or payment range for your services advantage of?
Sorry, can you rephrase your question, please?
Okay, I said for those of us that
Then
will be coming back into the labor market, I want you to help us, to guide us on salary range or pricing for probably in the case where you be asked, okay, how much do you want to be paid? And they'll be looking at, okay, you don't have, or probably you're new in the market, you don't have enough experience or something like that. How do you go about in such a way that you don't underprice yourself and you're not taking advantage of? How do we go about that?
okay, so if you're coming from a place of you just came in internship opportunity, I don't think price point should be your end goal, because, or should be a focus, because at that point you're trying to build your CV and your own portfolio. But when you've built it, there are platforms where people have done salary benchmarks to let you know what the particular job you are looking out for, how it is valued in the labor market. So based on your number of years of experience, based off of what it is you're bringing to the table, things like that, you can have an idea of what a price range is. You can also look at, if you're able to be privy to such information, how much a company like that is willing to pay for a position like that. Some people are transparent enough to put it out there from the genesis when they advertise for the job, that this is how much they are willing to pay within this range. So a bracket of, let's say, 300 to 400. So it depends on how much experience you have versus others that you're competing against to say, okay, they would give either the lower band, mid-range, or the higher band. I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense, but also when you are looking out for, you don't want to be devalued or taken advantage of, I would say you should also have an idea. When you do your research and you have an idea on what it is your experience is valued as, nobody can take advantage of you because you know what it is you are willing to be paid. But there will come a point where you have to weigh the reality of it, that am I like overdoing it because maybe you have been looking for several months and there's nothing that has come and everything always seems to be maybe what you're asking for is way out of range. Maybe you need to also find out, do some more in-depth research. But research is what helps because what you're asking is very industry specific. It varies per industry. It varies per job. It varies per job. Every job, every industry has what it is they are willing to offer for a position. Also, how long has this company been in existence for? Are they a startup level? Are they an SME? Are they a large company? Are they a multinational corporation? It depends on how much they will be willing to pay for a position like that. An MNC for a content creator would pay way more than a startup. A startup will be looking at somebody who will collect 150 to 200. An MNC will be looking at somebody that, because they want to get the best, because they are at, when I say the best, they want to get somebody that is of high repute, because the organization of itself is of high repute. So they need somebody that's going to match their energy. So it would be high up. It would be high up. Unlike somebody who is just starting up. They're looking for somebody that is young, maybe fresh out of university, doesn't really have responsibilities, and will be doing the work from home, but would get them what it is that they want to an extent. They would also make sacrifices. So there are many things to consider when it comes to price points. But I would say for you at your level, if you're just coming to the market with the skills you've acquired, price point should not be your focus until you get to a stage where you've built enough experience in your portfolio to now say, okay, this is what, then you do your research to say, this is what somebody with the kind of experience I have is valued as in the job market. Then you have a range, have a figure that you would not go below. By that, like I said, nobody will be able to take advantage of you because it's just a case of what you wouldn't take what you cannot take, period.
Yeah. Thank you.
I hope that makes sense.
Elizabeth, I hope that answered your question.
Thank you.
Okay. And so we could actually go on and on and on
Yes,
about
does. Thank
this
you very
and
much.
spend the rest of our evening here. Yeah. So I'd like to ask just one question before the final closing question. And that is, when it comes to transferable skills, like Elizabeth asked that question, something that came to mind was, you may be new to, for example, digital marketing, right? But you have done some other things in the past and you have acquired some skills over a period of time. And I believe that should actually be considered when you're coming in or when you're coming into a different role or even a different industry, right? But I know that not all skills are required, or not all skills will actually be valued, right? The way, like a skill, should I say, accounting skills, right, might be really important to someone or to an organization that is focused on that. But when it comes to working in healthcare, for example, that would not really be as valued, right? And that would really not count to someone who is now in healthcare and doesn't have anything to do with, should I say, stock taking or anything like that. Now, what would you say about transferable skills and how women can actually leverage their transferable skills when pivoting from one field to another?
So my thoughts on transferable skills are, again, back to the point of what exactly is this particular job requiring in terms of skill set, and what are some similar skills that you have. I'll give an example. Say in HR, I would always use HR because that's my field, right? Somebody coming into the HR space, never worked in HR, but has worked in customer service. Customer service has interpersonal skills, ability to relate to people you don't know, solving problems, critical thinking. Those are the kind of things that are transferable. If you're coming from a skill, a background such as accounting, what if you're going into a field such as content creating from being an accountant? That's a job. What are the skills that make a good accountant, or that you have that made you good at your job? So if I'm being really basic about it, say mathematical, obviously critical thinking, ability to pay attention to detail, that's a transferable skill if you're going into content creating. um, Probably I would say organizational skills. You have to be a pretty organized person too. I know that people who do content creating, I believe sometimes they have these platforms where you need to push out 5 types of content in the space of 3 days. So you have them all done and aligned, arranged and prepared and edited before that day. So they just go out on schedule, things like that. You need organizational skills for that. Same in accounting. Nobody starts preparing for payroll 2 days before payroll. That's just another example. So you look out for the kind of things that outline the skills that an accountant has, outline the skills that a content creator has, and just draw similarities. It could vary for so many different positions. Somebody moving from being an HR personnel to being a lawyer, what are the kind of things that, I mean, maybe even on the flip side, a lawyer moving to being an HR person, what are the kind of skills that are needed? Your ability to, the way in which you speak, communication skills. Aha. Those are, as an HR person, that's necessary. For a lawyer, that's also necessary. So things like that, I would say there would always be transferable skills. I mean, maybe there are some, but I don't really know of many professions that you cannot transfer some. And then look at this new profession I'm going into. What are the skills I don't have? Then those are the things that you focus on to build, not the other way around, because you already have some. So maybe even outlining what your transferable skills are gives you an idea as to what your non-transferable skills are.
All right, thank you so much. Chioma, any last words for us before we call it a day?
Okay, to contribute to the last question, I always say, people negate their domain knowledge. And I'll use, for example, I'm in the data analytics thing, and I'm in data analytics, but because I have a background in accounting and I have some experience in being a trainer and things like that, it comes and working with middle and senior level managers. So it's easy for me. I know that when I got my first remote gig, my client, he just wanted a particular information on the dashboard or whatever he wanted, or the report. But because I knew, come on, every business, you want to see your money. You want to see the money. How is this making money? How is this saving money? And so I tried to tell him, come on, see, this is important. I think you should also look at this, look at this. So these are things if you can, do. And because most of our projects were healthcare, I struggled. I always have to, and then there were lots of, what's the name? Abbreviations and things like that. But I think if you're, maybe let me say you're a pharmacist coming into data analytics, you understand that better. So don't just say, oh, now I'm now doing digital marketing, is all digital marketing I know. No, you knew some other things before you became a digital marketer. So bring it into place. And also, it's important that when we're talking about, the skills and transferable skills, I remember when My client wanted, he just wanted the data analyst that was going to do this. But so by the time I started pitching, I said, oh, I also do very clean, PowerPoint, and I could not just give you reports, but I could do your presentation, your slide decks, and you get highlight the important points. It wasn't a requirement for the job on the job, but it was something extra. I knew this was going to be beneficial to this role. And at the point, at the point, I'm like, why did I say this? He started dumping his slide decks for me. And okay, Chioma, just do this. Just represent this for me. Just do this. So these are things, whatever it is. I don't think there's no knowledge was there's no knowledge waste. There's no experience that is a waste. There's a way you could, bring it all up. There's something I saw someday, and I think there's this guy. He said that he got recruited into, I think, the banking sector, something like that. He was recruited, and I think over the meeting, he found out like he was recruited because he was a salesman at a bakery. That was part of why he got the job, because who could sell, and who could ever think like, oh, I'm coming to apply in a bank, and my bakery experience was what's giving me an urge for this position. So please, there are always transferable skills, and you should look into it and try to highlight it. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much. I think transferable skills to me are very important, and that's because personally I've also had opportunities to pitch, right, and also leverage my transferable skills. For example, I build websites, right, and then a typical website designer probably would not know about. Should I say SEO, content writing, because it's design, right? It's creativity. You're just to build the website. But then when I start telling you, oh, I'll create a website for you, and then I can write you 2 articles for free that are SEO optimized, right? You would likely not get that anywhere close. And so that becomes an edge that I have, right? And so I think in today's job market, I think people have to look for what gives them an edge, right? And so when you're actually out there putting out your CV, you should be looking at, oh, what else, what other skills do I have that are related to this role, but are not actually in this role description, and then put it there. I think this also brings to mind another opportunity I had to put out a CV, and then I started talking about other things that I do aside the main one. And I was like, oh, so you can do this? Okay, add it to the CV. Like the lady was telling me, oh, so add it to the CV, then and send it to XYZ. And so that's why I actually asked that question, right? It has helped me a lot. And like Chioma has rightly said, no knowledge is wasted, right? No knowledge is wasted. It's good to focus on what you do and what you want to do, but it's also really great to be very open to learning new things, because you never know when that new skill or that new knowledge that you have acquired will come in handy. And so with that, I'd like to really thank our panelists for today's AMA session. Thank you so much, Oredola Smith. Thank you, Chioma, Muanya. Please, let's give them a round of applause in the chat. And if you want to, feel free to unmute your mic and let's hear the claps. Thank you so much for...
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
For the opportunity.
And what I'd like you, Urda, to share your last word on this before we disperse.
So for me, I wish you guys good luck as you go out there into the labor market. Don't be afraid. Have confidence in yourself, in what it is that you've acquired. And I am 100% positive that whatever field it is that you are venturing into, however long you've been away from the labor market, don't focus on those things. Don't focus on the fact that you've been away for a while. Don't focus on the fact that this is something that is new to you. Don't focus on the fact that you're dealing with different generations. Be confident in what it is that you have in your hand, and trust and know that you'll figure it out as you go along. Keep an open mind as well, and I think everybody will be fine.
Thank you for that. Thank you so much. Chioma, you want to say anything or we close?
Yeah, final word, please. Your journey just started. A boot camp is not the end. Your journey just started. There's a lot to learn. It's very competitive out there, but keep at it. And like there are too many resources and there are so many tools. I don't expect you to know all the tools one at a time. And if you have an idea of, some of the tools, talking as a business and as a data analyst, you have an idea of, oh, Excel, very well, Power BI, okay, good, SQL, good enough, I think you can go ahead, but you should know something, have an idea of so many things, and be able to communicate, please. This is not like I'm a shy person. I don't like to talk. I don't like to do this. You have to, please, you have to like it. Thank you.
All right, thank you all so much. And finally, to thank the participants for joining us today. I believe you have learned a lot, and I'm trusting you to actually put what you have learned to good use. And we look forward to hearing your beautiful story of of progress, right, as you get on after the boot camp. So thank you once more. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And Oredola, please, happy birthday to your dad from me on behalf of Mom
Happy
Super.
birthday, Daddy.
Happy birthday
Thank
to
you
your
so
dad.
much.
Thank you so
Thank
much. I'll
you.
pass your message on.
All right. Bye,
All
everyone.
right, take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.